Hi, this is Elizabeth. I'm here in Boulder where it's currently about 20 degrees out. It is just dumping buckets of snow right now, and I'm noticing that I am really feeling resistant to leaving the house. I'm wanting to bundle myself up and read a book and just hang out and like cook a million recipes. And I also know that this is something that I typically experience most winters. I experience lower levels of energy, fatigue, this desire to really hibernate and kind of isolate myself and be alone. And I think this is a really common experience that people do tend to have during these winter times when it's cold and there's diminished daytime hours and we are always reading the headlines about seasonal affective disorder and this sort of a thing. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about how I plan on attacking this and how I do attack it most winters, which is utilizing exercise, specifically vigorous exercise, which is one of the most powerful tools that we have at our disposal for alleviating depressive symptoms. So mild depressive symptoms that happen not only during the winter, but any time of year. Research has shown that exercise can not only prevent depression, but after the instance of one exercise session can immediately elevate mood, and after as little as about a month of a consistent exercise regimen can reduce depressive feelings quite quickly. So let's talk a little bit about why exercise helps. There are two broad categories. The first is the biochemical effects, namely that biochemical effects are occurring when we exercise that have an antidepressant impact on the brain. So exercise helps to regulate the neurotransmitters or the brain chemicals that antidepressant medication actually targets. So you may have heard of norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine, which are simply chemicals in the brain that all pertain broadly to mood. They do things like waking up the brain, kind of getting it going, really turning on that attention system. They help to regulate feelings of well-being, self-esteem, and all of these sorts of things, which are really important that we can easily lose touch with during these kind of down periods of time. And secondly, not only does the exercise help to regulate these neurotransmitters, but it also impacts something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Very broadly, BDNF protects neurons in the brain from cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Again, something that by now most people have heard of. And cortisol has a pretty damaging effect on most areas of the brain. But here we're talking about areas of the brain that impact mood, like the hippocampus. I know that when I'm feeling kind of and in a depressive mood, I get caught into these negative cycles of thinking, negative patterns of thinking about my situation, where I'll kind of tell myself the same story over and over again. Oh, I'm so tired. I can't make it out. I have so much, going on in my life. And it's hard to break out of these kind of pessimistic patterns of thinking. BDNF helps us to break out of that, to think in new ways, to adapt to our situations, to have kind of new self-concept. Exercise does all of these things. And so that's the kind of very, very broad sweep of the biochemical perspective. Next, there's the psychological perspective, which in my opinion boils down to feelings of self-efficacy. If you've exercised, you know the feeling after that you just feel good. You have, you're like, yes, I know that when I go to the gym, I'm going to feel good after. I just need to drag myself there. And then when you do it, you feel good about yourself. You're like, yes, I know that that's going to make me feel good. So there's a feeling of self-efficacy and mastery over your own situation, your own life circumstance that I think is something that to be really proud of and helps us to continue to stay motivated. So how do we implement exercise in our lives to harness the antidepressant effects? The prescription is 30 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity on most days, vigorous exercise. So meaning that our heart rate is elevated, the blood is pumping, the breath is labored. So you're running, you're cycling, you're on a treadmill, you're hiking, you're going to a class with your favorite instructor, swimming, whatever it is. We're talking about aerobic activity, and on most days of the week. So it doesn't have to be huge. It can be getting out for a few minutes here and there. Make it fun, make it enjoyable, make it sustainable for yourself. I know that it's important to address that oftentimes the obstacles to first just getting out there and getting moving seem really big. So think about, how can you set yourself up for success? Strategize a little bit here. I recommend reaching out to a friend that may be in the same position as you, setting up a date to go work out, to go to a class, to go on a hike, and doing it together, reaching out for support. And in fact, research has also shown that the neurological benefits are enhanced when you're working out with someone else. Serotonin, which is one of those neurotransmitters we just talked about that helps to regulate mood, is increased because of the social interaction. So aside from reaching out to a friend for support or a workout buddy, I like to start slow, starting slow and with something that you know will get you moving. So in the morning, sometimes when I'm feeling particularly low energy, I'll do an energizing breath practice like Kapalabhati or breath of fire, which elevates the heart rate, elevates the breath rate, and just kind of brings some life energy, some wind into the system, and gives me that first little bit to get going. I do want to note that if you have untreated high blood pressure, please do not do a breath practice such as this without consulting a physician first. So doing an energizing breath practice is great to get you going, starting with maybe just some gentle stretches, moving around, putting on a song you really like and like dancing to it, going out for a brisk walk, starting slow, setting small, reasonable, achievable goals for yourself, and then feeling really good about it, and then going from there. What else? I think for me, what has been so transformative in my life has been shifting the focus from physical goals and a physical focus, like I want my abs to look like this, and I want to look like these, famous trainers, and I want to do something about my body. Shifting from that to, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my relationships to look like? How do I want to show up in the world? How do I want to attack my goals and my passions? And then knowing that these things that I can implement into my daily life will help me get there. It will put me on the path. And that it's about me taking that first step, and that I'm ultimately in control of that thing, I think has been just really powerful. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'll post on the blog some example of exercises that you can do, whether on the treadmill, outside, on a stationary bike, anywhere that's convenient for you, even inside your house. And that's about it. That's my spiel about exercise and the significance of moving your body to warding off seasonal feelings of depression. Please, as always, do feel free to email me if you have any questions at elizabethwellington@gmail.com. Thank you so much for spending the time. I hope that this has been informative for you. Stay warm and get moving. Bye. Thank you so much.